Women Who Own It podcast spotlights women business owners who are pioneers in their field, setting trends, blazing trails, and creating game-changing innovations. Brought to you by WeBank, the largest certifier of women-owned businesses in the U.S. and a leading advocate for women business owners and entrepreneurs. And me, Allison Maslin. I've been a business owner for the last 35 years. I'm the Wall Street Journal best-selling author of the book, Scale or Fail. So join our bold community of women who built it, grew it, and own it. I'll see you on the show. Welcome to Women Who Own It podcast, brought to you by WeBank, the largest certifier of women-owned businesses. And I am your host, Allison Maslin. I am the CEO and founder of Pinnacle Global Network, where we mentor business owners around the world to grow and scale their business. And Women Who Own It podcast is really here to inspire you to make the road a little bit easier on your journey. It is for business leaders by women business leaders. And speaking of women business leaders, we have an amazing guest today. Orion Brown is the founder and CEO of Black Travel Box, a premium clean beauty brand targeting women of color. She is a brand strategy professional with over 15 years of experience, dynamically leading cross-functional teams across multiple industries. Her area of deep expertise, including consumer insights-driven brand strategy, product and packaging innovation, operations, and portfolio management. That is a lot of experience. And so before coming to the entrepreneurial world, she led brand strategy for Oracle. She led consumer brand marketing efforts for the Transformers and My Little Pony digital brands at Hasbro. And she spent the bulk of her brand career at Kraft Foods. So toys, food, all over the market there. So she's led marketing, management, and operation initiatives across several beloved global brands. She has received her Bachelor of Arts from University of Chicago and holds an MBA from Duke University. So welcome, Orion, to Women Who Own It.
Thank you for having me, Allison. I'm excited to chat with you.
Yeah, I'm excited to learn from you. So tell us a little bit about Black Travel Box and what inspired you to leave corporate America and become a CEO of your own company.
Ooh, well, I think they're actually two parallel things, right? Because I was at the time that I started Black Travel Box, I was working at Oracle. I was doing a lot of work with their Fortune 100 clients, doing consumer work and strategy and all of that. But I didn't have anything tangible to work with. And I really missed having a tangible product, a tangible physical good. I think in parallel with that, I had my own frustrations about travel and beauty. And so it seemed like a great opportunity just to put together a passion project. My departure, though, from corporate was really more so environmentally based, right? So when you go into environments without diversity, when you go into environments with a little bit of chaos and things like that going on. I had been through a number of companies and, you named off a whole bunch. I had a whole banking career prior to that. And so, there's a point in time where you go, this is not good for my soul. I'm going to leave this to you guys. Have fun with that. And so as I took that step back, it was really, I've never taken more than 2 weeks off of doing something. And so I was like, let me come back to Black Travel Box and see what I can do with it. And, I gave myself 3 months and they were incredible. Lots of wonderful things happened. And I said, okay, I guess this is what we're doing now. Like, God, you've told me and I'm gonna go.
I love it. You did the soul searching and then you were led and here you are. So that's, a lot of people don't take that leap. So that's awesome. And, you've got so much experience and wisdom in brand strategy and marketing for the larger corporations. And so many business owners struggle with branding and marketing. Did this help you I would imagine that this really helped you in growing your company, having an understanding of, how do you reach your target market and all of those things?
I think there's two levels of it, right? So with my experience, very strategic, very much coming from a place of having resource and having a lot of people to help execute. So I think the blessing was I knew to start first with the consumer and the brand and the position. What is it? How is it different? And how is it meant to serve her? And then test that with people. Like, is this a problem you have? Is it just me? It could be, and start to kind of mold what that vision for what the brand should stand for outside of any like executional tactics, right? Before you're sending emails, before you're even making product, what is it that you're trying to create? And so once I was able to do that, then came the challenges of learning how to mail out orders and keep your website from crashing and all of those other fun things that one learns as a new entrepreneur.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. When it's resting on your shoulders, for sure, it's a different game. And I love that you went out and said, is this a problem that you're having too? And got that feedback. And so I think that a lot of business owners skip that part because they're like, oh, I like this, but are people going to be interested to buy? So that was a very smart thing to do. And your brand birthday is coming up soon. What are some of the biggest lessons you've learned since starting your company?
Yes, Black Travel Box is technically turning 4. She's only been in market for a couple years, but she's turning 4. And I think, there's been a number of lessons, but we can't ignore this past year, right? Because it was most challenging across so many different places. I look at opportunities or adversity as an opportunity to kind of really build out grit or see what you're made of. And I really saw that with the brand and with the business, understanding how strong an equity we had built with, our first adopters, the folks who were just kind of rolling with us through the early months of the brand and the business. So in doing things like pivoting and seeing that they came with us, we created a staycation collection. So everything's about travel, but nobody's traveling. How do you bring travel to the people?
Right.
Because I really wanted to, again, going back to positioning, wanted to be really clear. I'm not the thing that you keep in the house on the shelf. I'm never going to give you an 80-ounce jar of anything. Like, we want to make this quick, convenient, and out of home. And so in so doing, with those pivots and bringing about our, fragranced candles and all these other things that are bringing travel back in, we were able to keep that equity, and our customers came with us. They really, really came with us. And so I think the biggest thing that I learned was, like, stay true to what it is that you say you are,
Yes.
and make sure that you find the people who are really passionate about you. Because
Yeah.
those two things, whether things go up and down, whether you go down to 0 site visitors, I've been there, or whether
Hello.
you're up
We all
on
have.
your website, right? Like, whatever may come your way, if you have those, what is it, your tribe, or those first few people that really love you, you can really build off of that.
It's so true. I've had several companies over 35 years. And do you know, I still have some clients from the first business, like over 30 years ago, that have followed me to different, things that I've got myself into. So it really is, that relationship is everything. And, but also your positioning, you made that pivot and said, okay, it's for the staycation also, which we were all on a big staycation. And so that was really clever.
Thank you.
And so what does branding mean to you? I think a lot of people get confused on what branding means. Like, it's the logo. What distinguishes also like good branding from mediocre or even bad branding?
I think all of us tend to distill things down to the elements we are most familiar with. So your logo is a part of your brand. It is an asset of your brand, but it is not the entirety of the brand. Just like you wouldn't say, my hair is Orion. No, it's part of Orion, and it'll probably change next week. But the essence of who I am still stays the same. And so with branding, you have a lot of the same elements that you have with a person. What's their character? How do they speak? What's their intentionality? What do they bring to the room? All of those things that feel a little ethereal, that you have to write on paper, and they're not things that, you know, are a font type or a logo or colors, inform all of those things. And not only that, if you think about like old school marketing, 4 Ps, right? Your price, you know, where you're placed, all of the things that go into selling a product really have to be predicated on what the brand stands for. Otherwise, you're going to sell the wrong product in the wrong place to the wrong person and at the wrong price. If you know who you are, and you know who you are to a very clear consumer set, then all of those answers really come a lot more easily.
Yeah, everything is in alignment, really.
Mhm.
And then it's speaking to the customer and they hear you.
Yeah.
So yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And you, I mean, Oracle, Hasbro, Kraft, and, you know, do you think there's a difference of the way you're marketing from, I mean, besides having the financial resources, you know, from those big companies for ad spend and so forth, but is there a difference in the way that you would brand a major enterprise than for a smaller company?
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing is there are established brands that people already have a notion of what they are in their heads. So that's both a good thing and a bad thing, right? When you are a craft, you can go to a retailer and they're like, I know craft, you have $1 billion brands. Come on in. What's the next thing you're making? You're a market maker. But if you're saying, you know what, craft really wants to go into CBD, does craft really stand for that? And most people's minds are like, no, it's the cheesiest. It's, you know,
Yeah.
my kids, and it's Kool-Aid.
Macaroni and cheese CBD. I don't know. Could
Exactly.
be a
Which, by
thing.
the way, it kind of makes sense, but doesn't make sense positioning wise, right?
Yes.
So it's one of those things that you have to say, just because I can do it, should I? When you have an established brand. When you're not an established brand, it's all white space. All bets are off. You can make it, fake it till you make it, until you get to that established point and say, this is what we are, this is what we stand for. And so I think the creativity on both sides is really interesting, because you have to be strategic. You have to understand sort of the mechanics of building a brand, even if you have a sandbox already built for you. It's still like, okay, so how can I creatively make this make sense? What are the iterations that I need to take to get this business to this step change place that it totally makes sense for CBD? With a smaller company, now you're really proving yourself, because not only do people not know what you stand for, but they don't know what you bring to the table. And so it really is about kind of putting in the work to establish relationship while also maintaining, you know, whatever that brand persona is. Does that make sense?
Totally makes sense. I get that. And, you know, I know from my own business and clients that we work with, oftentimes the brand that you start with, or the maybe the same product, but the brand evolves, or
Yes.
your awareness of your customer evolves. And so, you know, that means that you would need to do a rebrand. And so that, again, you know, so that everything is cohesive.
Yeah. And so the good thing is when you're a young brand and you don't have awareness, rebrands are easy because nobody knew you were there in the first place. I could
Right.
have, you know, 20,000 customers tomorrow and do a rebrand, and there would still be millions of other people that I could reach the next day that would have had no idea. When you are an established brand, you do have to think about what are the guardrails. So I like to think of rebrand as more of a refresh,
Mhm.
depending on how strong your brand essence is, and like what makes you you, and then start to figure out how do you work your way, how do you iteratively get there. It's like when you're dyeing your hair. I hate to take it all to beauty, but when you're dyeing your hair, you can't go from jet black to like platinum blonde. You have to do iterations, because otherwise you'll end up with orange, and orange isn't where you want to be. And so you kind of have to layer it and then go back and touch it up and make sure that the color is tempered and bring yourself to it. And so that's really how it works with brands. I think it's the same idea.
So another scale it tip to help you grow and scale your company. Now, you might think the number one reason that business owners don't get to that higher level that they are dying to get to is some sort of creative strategy that they need to implement. Well, yes, creative strategy is important, but the number one thing is our mindset. You see, every human being has a ceiling on what they feel they can accomplish and create in their life. And we often only give ourselves credit for what we have already done. So you actually need to be thinking much bigger than you are now. You need to be able, as a CEO, to be the visionary and to see the unseen, to allow yourself to stretch the crevices of your mind right out to the edges of your comfort zone and be willing to take those leaps into areas that you've never been before. Will it be scary? Yes, but you're going to be able to see how resilient that you are. Get the support. Don't do it alone. But if you are not willing to take the leaps, your business is going to stay small. There's a whole world out there that needs you. They need your product or service. So I really challenge you to take the leap bigger and further than you ever imagined possible. Well, I accidentally did that before with my hair, and I ended up having, my hair was so red, it looked like I put red paint on it and had to completely color it black. So I know the pain. You know, it's interesting. I was watching a commercial. It was Subway, and they just said that we're having a brand refresh. You know, so it still had the same logo, but the idea, they were giving that note, like, we're not the same old brand anymore. Like, we're doing new things. So yeah, definitely like that positioning. It's interesting.
And preparing your customers for that is huge, right? Like if you do have a core customer set, so you're not an early stage, or even if you are early stage, it's great to bring people along on the journey, because if it makes strategic sense to you, you should be able to tell that story pretty clearly and easily to them. And if they come in and go, what, why, and drop you, maybe that change might not be the thing that you want to do. So it's certainly great to kind of put that out there and get their feedback and get their buy-in as well.
Yes, for sure. A confused mind says no is what I've learned along the way. So what have you learned about being a CEO that you wish you knew when you started?
I am in a season of no. So everybody's a season of yes or a year of yes. I'm like, I'm in a year of no, in the sense that I came in with a very clear path to how I wanted to build this business. And I started saying yes to everybody else's opinion about it. And so as a CEO, and I put air quotes because when you're just starting, it's like, I don't feel like a CEO. Nobody's peeling me grapes and bringing me coffee. Like, there's nothing, there's nothing glamorous about this. But as a CEO, I had to learn that the reason why I'm at the top of my company, why I am the leader, is because I had a vision, and it's my job to drive that vision, whether that be for our financing, whether that be for our products. I have to drive that. And, advisors are great, but as people say, opinions are like, everybody's got one and everybody thinks everyone else's stinks. I had to come back to myself and go, you had an illustrious career, right? Like, you've done a lot of things and you did very well at it, and you do know what you're talking about. So being put on the spot by tech bros who don't know anything about consumer goods, or investors who are kind of looking at, a woman of color working with a people of color market, right? Working with a Black market. Oh, that's niche. It's really small. And me knowing the mechanics of what it takes to build a brand and look for white space and find, segments of consumers that make sense, and how do you serve them? It all came back to, you know what, you just got to say no to some of these opinions sometimes. So that has been a really eye-opening thing for me. And no matter what your business is, whether you're a lawyer starting a law firm, or you're an artisan, making pottery at home, you are bringing so much to the table. And while people may help you with places that you have deficiencies, like, how the heck do I get this mailed out? Ooh, How the heck do I, figure out this digital strategy? That's fine. But hold on to what's core to you, because that's the value. That's what the make or break for the brand in the business.
Yeah, I'll tell you, it's, when you, let's say you work with a digital agency and all of a sudden you see an ad going by for your company that is not in alignment with your brand, that does not feel good. So I think it is so important for the business owner to really know that, so that when they do their marketing, that it is, communicating that vision, that message, and that is in alignment. Now you used crowdsourcing for funding your business. Is that right?
Yeah, we currently I have 6 days left, but we're currently on the iFund Women platform, going to a stretch goal of 60K. And
Wow.
that's
How's that experience been? Because I know a lot of listeners are probably going, oh, I want to check that out.
Yeah, so it's been awesome. I did their Caress Dreams to Reality program, which they partner with actually a ton of brands, which is great. Caress came in and said, we'll give you your first $1,000 and we'll, subsidize you to go through all the coaching and the support. And that's what I really like about iFund Women. Like, I feel like when you look at other platforms that are out there that have been around a little bit longer, they don't have that incubator space. And so a lot of business owners are just starting out and they're like, how do I communicate this? Who's my audience? How do I do this? And so we went through, I think it was like 16 weeks in total. We're meeting weekly. And it was such a great experience. Number one, accountability. It's just like when you want to go on that diet and you're like, I need somebody else to be suffering with me. Come on, like somebody else eat a carrot. So we ate our carrots every week. We worked with each other. We laughed with each other. We cried with each other. And so it's been a really amazing experience. And then with the actual crowdfund itself, I've learned so much about what the brand is and what the brand isn't. So getting creative with the rewards and going, oh, y'all don't like that? Oh yeah, because I was off brand. I was trying to think of something cool to sell you on this platform, not something that is reflective of Black Travel Box. And so I've been playing around with that, and it's been really fun. I'm kind of sad to see that we're wrapping it up.
Oh, wow. That's fantastic. I am such a big believer in the accountability. That's the work that we do. And I think that we all need someone to hold us to a higher level at all times, kind of keep us focused on the goal. That sounds amazing. And so you are primarily e-commerce sales. Are you also wholesale in retail stores as well?
We are not in brick and mortar yet. I do have some boutiques that work with us, but primarily it's D2C, so direct to consumer. And one of the reasons why I couldn't find any brands on the market that did what I needed them to do in terms of my travel, hair, and skincare needs was because we don't get distribution. We don't. We still live in a world that there's the word normal on bottles of things that go on skin and hair. We still live in a world where there is a separate ethnic aisle. And so for me, it's about making sure that our customers and our consumers are not distracted by these beauty double standards and all of this stuff, and that they're actually in the moment and at the place that they want to be. So whether they're traveling to Tulsa or they're going to Toledo, Spain, or wherever it might be, it's like, how can I be as here as possible? And so what I'm really doing is building a business that can reach them in all the places that they go. So you don't just need your toiletries for the bag when you get to TSA, because they eventually take something or you forget something, but you need it in these other places, in the destinations, in the hotels. And so those are the places that we want to make sure that we're there, and we're kind of providing this ubiquitous source of travel personal care.
Yeah, well, I like that you are going. First of all, I think it's a smart strategy. You're not splitting the wholesale cost with the retailers at this point, and you're able to communicate right with the customer. I mean, when you're in the retail stores, you're dealing with the buyer. You're not really direct with the consumer, so you can learn so much about your brand, your customer, what they need, and ultimately a good chance of even more profitable business.
Oh, definitely. You really have to look at product like that profitability mix. We do have a wholesale business that we're kicking off with Macy's.com. Shh, don't tell anybody.
Okay,
We're going to be on in the fall. We
that's
went through their
exciting.
accelerator. Yeah, it's really exciting. It's really exciting. We went through their accelerator and it was a great program. And so it was one of those things that it just, we did a month on Macy's.com and sold out. And so they asked us to
Wow.
come back. And I'm really excited about that. But to your point, I have to be mindful. Okay, so what does this do to my profitability mix? What does this do to my bottom line? Yes, it drives a lot of awareness and brings a lot of top of funnel people, which is exactly what I wanted to do. But how can I make sure that I'm offering them the right product mix so as they sell these off, I'm still bringing in the margins and profitability that I had sort of built into the P&L.
Yeah. And honestly, it's where a lot of business owners with consumer goods products get into trouble because they feel like, oh, wow, I got into Whole Foods or I got into, even into Macy's or wherever. And you're smart because now you have this direct to consumer that's also helping to fuel your growth. And so I think really looking at it like you're talking about, of course, you want a good margin, but that's also great publicity for your brand to be in these bigger box stores because, you're leveraging their market. So I think, having the direct to consumer as, together, working together, that sounds like a great strategy to me.
Product mix and channel mix. Those are two things that you really, really have to balance, whether you have a physical good or even a service. Making sure, like if you're a consultant and you're a physical human that can't be scaled, making sure that you're creating products for those spaces and places that people need little pieces of you, but then also looking for opportunities to create communities and different, other products of that. Is really about what resources you have and like, what are you going to get out of it?
Oh, that's so smart. I love that. Thank you for that advice. And yeah, so this has been fantastic. But how have you, we're here because of WeBank and
Yes.
this podcast, Women Who Own It. How have you utilized WeBank in your certification to support your growth?
Well, I'll tell you what, the second I got my certification, I framed it and then I threw it in my email. It's on my email, it's on my website, it's all in these places. I really love a couple things. One thing that was unexpected, I'm just going to be honest, I thought I was just paying for a label that says she's a girl. She's a girl and she owns this. But what I really got was some amazing programming. There's been a ton of like great talks and things like that. So as I started to get onboarded to what WeBank does, it really opened up some doors of opportunity for learning, for exposure. But a lot of programs that are out now, like if you're going for grants, if you're going for a program, they want to see certification. They want to see somebody has done the due diligence to know that this company is what we, intend it to be and who we intend to help. And so I think, between it being a true badge of honor and being a door opener, it's also a community of education and opportunity that I've really enjoyed.
Yeah, for sure. Me too. I love being a certified women business owner. In fact, I've got my site visit for this year tomorrow. So, well, this has been fantastic. Do you have any last words of wisdom that you would like to share with our listeners?
Ooh, open-ended question. I would just say, there's a lot of things that are changing this year, right? We're in a very interesting transition period. We just came out of the biggest e-commerce boom that we've ever seen. We're, decades ahead. We've got political stuff and all of these other things going on, and we're still trying to figure out whether or not we should stay at home. And as an entrepreneur and as a business owner, I think it's really, really important to remember that these are extraordinary times and you have to give yourself a break. You have to give yourself the same grace. And as women, we tend to give a lot of grace to other people, but not necessarily ourselves. And I have to practice this daily. I have to go, no, no, stop that. Don't say that you're lazy. Don't say this to yourself. Don't say that. Give yourself a minute. It's okay to sit and breathe. It's okay to have a full night's rest. I heard someone say the other day, oh, this person and that person, they're not famous because they got 8 hours of sleep. And it's like, yeah, they also weren't in a whole pandemonium. So make sure you're taking care of
Yeah.
yourself, because when you do that, you can take care of your business and your brand better.
Oh my gosh, that's the best advice to end with. It is so, so true because, we've all had those times in our life where we kind of hit a wall because we've pushed ourselves too hard. And, you can't get creative. You can't get inspirational there. You can't think straight.
Mhm.
And so, at the end of the day, you got to lead with you. So I love that. That's a perfect way to wrap this up. So Orion, thank you so much for being on Women Who Own It. I know those that are listening are super, super inspired and have learned so much. And so if you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, share it with other business women that you care about, and write a review if you enjoyed it. So until next time, get out there and elevate yourself because you are worth it. Bye, everybody.